What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? This is part two of a series that I was gonna do about testimony, about my testimony, about going into different topics of my testimony. I know the first one was about label cans, not the people, and I talked about and that's the title of the last one. And it talked about different areas of how I was labeled and how I was brought up and stuff. Thinking a certain way. So if you haven't got a chance to look at that one, you can go back and look at that one. But I just want to get into this one today real quick, and it's about pain. And the title of this one's going to be I know what pain is. I definitely know what pain is. I've experienced pain, and I'm just going to, it goes deep, and we don't realize how deep our pain and how deep each circumstance plays a role in our lives. And I don't know any of this stuff until I accept Jesus Christ. I don't know any of this stuff until I get into the recovery, into the men's homes, into the men's groups, and to working the steps in the program. Do I learn any of this stuff? And it's just so vital because everybody has a story. Everybody has a testimony. Everybody has some kind of pain. And for us to go through life not knowing that and just building these walls and these character defects and these shortcomings and building this life to try to mask and try to run from and try to forget about those pains. Oh man, it's terrible. And I'm just thankful for Jesus for this opportunity. So pain, I just want to go back. I'm going to rewind real far back and to the first pain that I can remember. When I was about 3 years old, I was walking down the street in Detroit, a little kid walking down the street, and I seen these little puppies, and I was like, oh, puppy or whatever, and they gave my mom one of the puppies, and I named it Dog, and they said, what are you gonna name your dog? And they said to say dog, Dog, and then I just named him Dog, and he was my safe haven. He was from the age of 3 till 5 years old. He was just my buddy, man. Like anytime that there was conflict in the home, because I lived in a home where it was chaotic. There was drugs, there was fighting, there was arguing, there was lots of people in the house. There was just chaos everywhere. You got to think it was my mom and my stepfather, and they were young. She had me when I was young. When she was young, she was already in dysfunctional relationships, dysfunctional issues of herself, and she brought a kid into it. So anyways, I'm not going to try to get too much into that, but there was a lot of bad things happening, and the dog was my safe haven. I remember always that was my buddy. I could talk to him. He loved me. He was my everything. And when we got to about 5 years old, we moved into a trailer park. And when we moved into this trailer park, they said we couldn't have the dog. And man, it was killing me, man. He was my safe haven when everything was going wrong. Me and him, he protected me. He was there for me. And so my uncle said that he would take the dog, and I would still be able to see him on the weekends or whatever. And so they took the dog. And there was the first few weekends, I think I got to see him when I would go over to my dad's house or my aunt grandma's house. It was at my grandma's. My uncle was living at my grandma. And then one weekend, I went there and he wasn't there. And I said, well, where's Dog? And they said he ran away. And I don't know. I didn't believe it. I believe that the resentment, the anger, the hurt, the frustration, the anger at my uncle, the hurt, the pain, that was my friend, man. That was the only person. That was the only thing. And to me, he was a person. To me, he was, and I'll be honest with you, why I share that story is because ever since then, I had a couple other dogs. They tried to give me a different dog, and then that dog bit my stepdad when he tried hitting me, and they got rid of that one. So the thing that happened with this was it had a hard time for me to love animals. It had a hard time for me to love anything because I seen something that I loved so much that was there for me that I needed, and it was taken from me just like that, and it hurt at a young age. And like I said, trying to fill it with different animals, and that animal gets taken away because it bit my stepdad, and then another animal, the same thing. So it started something. And then I had a grandfather, a step grandfather that I was really close to. He was a good dude, and I would see him every weekend too as well. and we would bake together. We'd bake cornbread, and he was a good man. And I was with him the day. Um, I was with him on Sunday. He drops me off at my mom's house with my dad, and then the next morning I wake up and I get a phone call, and he had passed away. I was only 10 years old, so there, at 5 years old I had the dog thing situation happen, and then another dog, in between there, and then my grandfather dies unexpectedly, and just didn't understand it. It was just hurt, and he was just the other safe haven. He was the other part that was I would have to say somewhat of a, I only had a few figures in my life that were consistent, that were just I feel safe with. It was my grandma Hayner, and my grandpa Hayner, and Jack. Eileen was drunk and different all the time. That was my grandmother, my other grandmother, and there was just a lot of dysfunction on both sides of the family, and so that happened, and then through that, there's just pain. There was a lot of pain growing up. There was some sexual abuse in the neighborhood, with older kids, men and women, both sexually abusing the younger kids. There was some other sexual abuse going on, and then there was just physical and mental abuse. I watched my mom get beat up a lot. I watched my mom get called every name in the book. I watched my stepdad beat my mom, beat on me. I used to jump in the middle of him and say, well, if he just hits me, it's fine, and I'd rather just get the detention off of her. And there's just a lot of pain there. There was a lot of pain of, situations where, the CPS came to the house, and my mom lied to him and said or when I would call the police and the police would come to the door, she'd say, no, nothing's wrong, and then she'd yell at me for calling the police. And I was just confused, very confused, with a lot of pain, and at the same time the enemy's starting to whisper, see, she don't love you, your mom don't even love you, you're no good to nobody cares about you, your dog ran away from you. Like, these are the things that started to torment me from a young age. And just a lot of pain. When I was young and living in a trailer park, I was bullied a lot. I was one of the younger kids. I was skinny. I had crooked teeth. I had big ears. My hair grew long. My mom didn't fix my hair a lot or cut my hair a lot. So I used to get picked on a lot, and just the fear. And, man, there's just so much different pains growing up. And, I remember one time we were all throwing rocks at a semi truck, and I got blamed. And then I remember the bully saying, if you don't say that that you did it, you tell on us, and we will beat the crap out of you. We will kill you, basically. And I just took the rap, and I got in trouble, and I was off the bus for 10 weeks, and then it just taught me how to be quiet. And it was like, you had to be quiet. You can't say nothing. What's there to say? What's there to talk about? What is there to feelings to talk about? Why should you tell anybody? When they used to have counselors ask me this and that, I just wouldn't say nothing. My mom's telling me not to say nothing. These bullies are telling me not to say nothing. And I just went within. And then the anger eventually blew up, and I ended up getting so angry that I started fighting, and the pain of getting hit so much didn't hurt anymore. Getting hit so much didn't hurt anymore. So pain ended up becoming just normal, and throughout my life, and then I got introduced to drugs and alcohol, and it just helped numb it. And I lost both my parents. I lost my dad when I was 19. My dad was my real father, was my best friend. I loved him more than anything. We became partners in painting, but also partners in crime. He did a lot of, I didn't know who my dad was or what he was doing, but he did a lot of things. I'm not going to get into it. That's a whole different story, but my dad showed me a criminal life that I wasn't, my dad left me when I was 14 years old. He left and went to Florida with his new family. And that was another painful situation. Is I was living with my dad, and he was with a wife, and they were arguing. They had a kid, and they were about to have another one, and they were arguing and fighting back and forth. And I was like, man, if I'm going to deal with this, I might as well just go back to my mom's house. At least I have friends over there. At least I have people I can talk to. People I know the streets there. I can just go there, I'll just go back home. And then my dad was leaving and he went to Florida. And the enemy's like, see, your dad's even leaving. He's going to Florida with his new family. It's just another etch in the stone of just killing me with the pain. And so he left for 3 years. So for 3 years, I was just in the streets. I started to watch the drug dealers, hanging out with the drug dealers, brothers and friends and all that, and just wanting to be like them, and that was my figures. My dad's gone. He's in Florida with his new family and stuff like that. And that's where I started to sell dope and learn about drugs and smoking weed. And my dad comes back into town, and he moves back, and come to find out, I was already in this life. And then my mom must have told him, oh, your son's starting to sell drugs, this and that. So one day he just came up to me and said, hey, you gonna smoke some weed with your dad? I said, what? So I smoked a joint with him, and then we started to talk a little bit, this and that, and I told him what was going on. And I remember we had hit a lick and had some weed, and I said, Dad, you want to buy a couple quarter pounds or this and that? He's like, man, where you get all this weed at? Where you get this stuff at? And I was like, oh, I found it. He's like, man, slap me in the back of that. You lying to me? So I just told him what was up, and then he grabbed me and he said, listen, if you're going to be a part of all this kind of stuff, you might as well be hanging out with me and us. And so he showed me different things, and I hit licks, and I'm trying not to get into all this stuff, but he showed me how he stole safes, and he did different things and different organization. He did different kind of shooting moves, and he was more whatever organized type of stuff, and just different kind of stuff. It wasn't really drugs. I mean, there was selling drugs, but it was more credit card schemes and different schemes and scams and safes and different things like that. And it's a long story short, me and my dad became, grew into this thing together. And so one day I was staying at my mom's house, was partying all night, and he said he was going to come over, he was going to give me some money, and $400 he owed me for something, and I passed out, and he pulled up on his motorcycle, and I was passed out, and I heard the knocking, or I didn't hear the knocking, but then I heard the dogs barking. When I finally woke up, he was already taken off, and the dogs were barking, and I couldn't get a hold of him because couldn't get a hold of him on his cell phone because the dogs were, because he was on his motorcycle. And so he left my house, and when he left my house, he got hit by a drunk driver and killed. So the enemy's tormenting me. See, you're nothing, you're worthless. Look at you, fell asleep, and just killing me, just tormenting me with this, saying it's my fault, and I'm just a piece of crap, and you're never gonna be nothing, and blah 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 blah. So my dad dies, and I'm a wreck, man. And then 8 months later, my mom passes away. So at the age of 19, I lost both my parents. My mom died a horrible, painful death. She was on a feeding tube. They took her off a feeding tube, and she died from starvation, basically. I never got to tell my mom I was sorry. I never got to share with my mom anything, but I remember the last time I went, they begged me to go see her, and I went and saw her, and she's in this room, and she can hear you. She can hear you, but she can't move. She can't talk. She can't do nothing, but her eyes are open. And I remember saying, Mom, I love you, and I'm going to do better, I promise. And as I'm doing it, her tears are coming down her face, but she can't move. She can't talk. And that's pain, man. That's pain. And that's tormenting from the enemy, just tormenting me more and more. And I just became more and more angry and frustrated. And I'm mad at the world. And I became, that next 7 years, became the whirlwind of, I don't know if that was more than 7, maybe more than 8 years. 8 years before I changed my life around and gave my life to Christ. It tormented me. And I was angry. I wasn't afraid to die. I wanted to die. I invited it. Every kind of fear was gone because I was so mad. And so I know about pain. I know about pain, and I know that there's pain out there. And I know that with pain comes tormenting from the enemy. And it's all lies, and it's all things that the enemy uses and comes, and then he tries to give you cups to drink and say, oh, well, yeah, you got that pain, we'll take this, or yeah, you have this pain, well, here's this, or here's that for this pain. And all it does is trap you even more. And the reality is that Jesus saved my life. I surrendered to him, even though I tried killing myself and I wanted to end it, and the enemy won. I felt like he won because I was ready to end it. I was done. I was tired of hearing the voices. And but I reached out to God, and I reached out to God, and he saved me. Today I rise above the past and make a difference. Today I don't stay in the past and make excuses. I rise above it and make a difference. Today it's time to make a difference. It's time to take that pain and share it with other people. It's time to take our testimony by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. People can be saved. It's through my pain. It's through all that pain that I can share it with anybody, and have that same passion. And see, that thing that the enemy said, you're worthless, you're no good, you're never going to be nothing. It was a lie. Because I'm able to take all that pain that he tried to endure me with, and I'm able to share it. And I'm able to help chains be broken through the name of Jesus, and through the testimony, and through his blood and his shed that he already did. I just have to share my testimony. We just have to share our testimony. I hope this helps somebody today. That's my pain in a nutshell. There's so much more probably. I mean, if I go deep, there's so much level of pain. But today I'm freed from all pain. I'm freed from all bondage. I'm free from all them voices. Today I hear the Lord's voice. I hear his voice saying, good job, son. This is what I want you to do, son. Share with him, son. This video right here is because the Lord told me to. You know? Don't let your pain become your life, become your testimony. Don't let it. Don't die in vain. Don't die in shame. Rise above in Jesus' name. God bless.